I've got people in my family that are to the right of Attila the Hun. And when people tell me, like, how can you platform that person on your show? I go, I platform my uncle every fucking Thanksgiving. And by the way, I love him. He's a three-dimensional human being who has qualities that I really admire. Things about him. And we've lost that. We've lost the ability to love people because we litmus test at every point, in every single moment.
Jon Stewart said that he has an uncle that's to the right of Attila the Hun. Now, obviously, that's a joke. And that he loves his uncle. And he equates platforming harmful individuals, in this particular environment especially, with platforming his uncle at Thanksgiving. And people are like, well, no, Jon, your uncle is not the same as yada, yada, yada. But he doesn't see the difference. Jon Stewart does not see the difference between his uncle and those people. So I was trying to figure out who he platformed, and it wasn't so much a platform, it was more along the lines of, at least from what I could gather, he spoke positively about a Joe Rogan, and effectively said similar things that he said about his uncle, that you have individuals who say, you know, horrible things, or who are doing things for the sole purpose of, you know, to be manipulative, to try to push, what did he say, something about Project 2025. But he said Joe Rogan's not like that. Joe Rogan's just, I guess, a curious type person who just wants to have conversations with a whole bunch of different types of people. And it's the same narrative that he's pushing about his uncle. He sees his uncle in these people, but because he's his uncle, Jon doesn't think that his uncle's a bad person. Therefore, when he went on Joe Rogan, he doesn't think Joe Rogan's a bad person either. And it's like, but Jon, if his outcomes are platforming the harmful people who are doing harmful things, Joe Rogan's not a good person, Jon. Like, how do y'all not see that? How do y'all not see? How do y'all? How do they not see any of that? I feel like Jon Stewart is a part of a group of people who effectively, he spent like these last few decades trying to make it seem like he's above the fray. It's like the people who quote unquote vote independent but are actually Republicans. They try to place themselves outside of the political back and forth and try to do this both sidesism because it's about their ego. It's about I'm above the fray, therefore you can listen to me and you can trust me. It's a very, very weird thing that they're doing. But in doing so, because he's trying to place himself as above everything, he hasn't really been paying attention. Or maybe he has, and it's just his way of trying to pretend that it doesn't exist. It's one of those two things. Because you can love your uncle, Jon. That's your uncle. And like I said, I've made a video about this. I haven't posted it yet. Maybe I should. But I don't envy white people. Because I think a lot of them are coming to the realization of just how deeply entrenched the racism is and the oppression is. And they're realizing that if I actually were to take a stand against this, even in the bare minimum of just not associating with certain types of people, I would be left alone in this world. A lot of them are coming to that realization. And I think a lot of them don't have the courage to stand on their own, and therefore they're doing these mental gymnastics in an effort to try to justify these people and to make what they're doing okay. So they're trying to minimize them in this way so they don't have to do anything hard or anything difficult. And so he's doing that with his uncle, and he did that with Joe Rogan. And it's like, you can love your uncle and you can sit here and think that Joe Rogan's not a bad guy, but at the end of the day, these people vote for oppression, Jon. They vote for oppression. And you, because you, at least you think that you're not going to be oppressed by them, and you're Jewish. And if you don't see the anti-Semitism that's been running rampant all around this bitch, I can't listen to shit that you saying, motherfucker, because how the fuck do you not see it? Because I see it pretty clearly. I see it every fucking where. I see the little hints of it, and it's making me nervous. For you, nigga. How do you, but you don't see it, right? So you think you're not going to be a target of the oppression. Therefore, you push the narratives that it's not that bad. These are just, people. He called them a three-dimensional human being. These are three-dimensional people. That three-dimensional person wants my three-dimensional ass to be oppressed. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What are the other aspects of them that I need to see? Because they love you? It's like the same people who say shit like, oh, so-and-so can't be racist because they've been around black people. What are you talking about? Of course they can. The enslavers used to rape black women regularly. They don't have a problem having sex with you. They don't have a problem being around you. They can still be around you and not like you. They don't mind having you in their homes as long as you don't think that you're on the same level as they are. They'll put you in a subservient position with expectations of how you are supposed to act and how you can't say certain things. That's how they view you. They can still be very racist and still be around you. We were around them all the time. We literally breastfed their fucking babies. The fuck are you talking about? Y'all have a very simplified notion of these things. And at the end of the day, you may love your uncle, but your uncle voted to oppress me, Jon. I don't love that man. He's a piece of shit. If your uncle voted for this man, he voted to oppress me. There's no three dimensions to your uncle for me, Jon. This idea that we are supposed to love our oppressors is really very reminiscent of like the role that Christianity played in slavery. This idea of forgiveness. And to be quite honest with you, Dr. King tried that shit. We have literally tried forgiving route for these last 60 fucking years. The only thing we asked for was fucking equity. That was it. And if you're saying that your uncle is a three-dimensional person and he has the capabilities to understand that, why did he vote for oppression? Why did he vote to reinstitute the white supremacist? Why was he okay when they got on stage and said the horrible things that they've said about so many different types of, in different groups of people? Why were they okay with that? I only have this picture up here because I feel like a lot of white liberals think that they're like a John Brown type, that they think that they're revolutionaries, and they're not. They're not actually willing to sacrifice much of anything to do the right thing. And we're seeing it play itself out in real time. When threatened under the guise of fascism, you have so many of them who are just willing to play ball. They're willing to go along with it. And like I said, if they get the ability to replace us and use them as their base, you're going to see a reinstitution of Jim Crow. Don't worry about that. And they'll be okay with it. They will justify it because they have to justify it to make themselves seem like they're not the terrible people that they are. And I think that's the other part of it. Me being willing to powwow with and be in community with horrible people who vote for oppressive ideas, an oppressive system, means that I too am like those people. But I don't want to accept that reality. So I'm going to do everything in my brain, all the mental gymnastics necessary to try to make all of this oppression okay. Because I'm not a bad person. I can't be a bad person. It's the same sickness that keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. It's why the white racists exist. They don't want to examine their own history. They'll sit there and they'll create a phony history, a phony reality, just so that they can exist and keep believing that they're good people when they clearly are not good people. But I'm going to tell myself racism wasn't that bad. It was only 2%, 2 or 3% of the population, right? It wasn't that many people. So I can't be a bad person. I'm not going to actually analyze that any deeper. I'm not going to look at the power structures in place. I'm not going to examine the fact that a bunch of people were perfectly okay with the oppressive system that happened. I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to sit here and come away with this simplified explanation. Therefore, I can put my own mind at ease and say, well, the majority of us didn't own slaves, so therefore we can't be bad people. No, but you upheld the practice and the institution of racism, and you still continue to do so till this day. You are literally upholding oppression, actively upholding oppression. And I'm not going to let any of you bitches skate from this. I don't give a fuck who you are. You want to claim that you're on my side, bitch, because you want healthcare? Fuck you. You are upholding oppression. Jon Stewart is part of that crowd. That's who the fuck he is. He's too chicken shit and too fucking cowardly to actually stand against oppression, and so he's going to do a little dance and a fucking mental game in order to make everything seem acceptable and okay because he doesn't have the ability to actually do the thing that he says that he wants done. He doesn't. This is unsurprising because of the nature of humanity. Most people don't have the ability to do something hard. They don't. When pushed to do something difficult, a lot of people give up. So this is not an unnormal thing. But especially if you're one of the targeted groups, you better understand who the fuck you're up against. And the fact that a lot of the people who claim to be your supporters, if things continue to get worse, they're going to shut the fuck up. And many of them are going to start siding with the people who don't like you because it is literally safer and easier for them to do so. I was watching Urban View and Laurie Daniel Favors, and she was talking about, I need to go watch the documentary, but there's this documentary about Wilmington, Delaware. So I had to go look it up. It was Wilmington, North Carolina. Ultimately, in Wilmington, North Carolina, they had a town in which you had black people in government, you had black people who own businesses, and white people in government, and white people who own businesses. And these people were in community with each other, and things were fairly good. But ultimately, what happened was a bunch of white supremacists decided to go into that town, and they enacted a coup in which they walked into government buildings and they said, you either leave or we're going to get rid of you. And effectively what happened was, at least according to what you see, somewhere between 14 and 300 black residents were killed. And those white people took over. Now, this was a community that also had white people in it before the white supremacists came. What do you think happened after the white supremacists came, killed a bunch of people, and then took over government? Did the white people rise up? Or did they just acquiesce? Short answer, they acquiesced. They were okay. They let it happen. Now, I haven't watched the thing yet, but I'm sure that there probably were a few white people who were willing to do something. A few. But the point is that this whole thing got washed over primarily because white people were okay with what happened. And that's what we're dealing with today. And the only tool that I have in my box is to make sure that in some way, shape, or form, that they don't have anywhere to hide from the decisions that they're making, and that they will not whitewash history to try to absolve themselves of their fucking sins. When this is finally written, we need to make sure that we have enough of us speaking out and in as many different forms possible so that they cannot whitewash the fact that they acquiesced.